blueprint is amazing.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. I just realized I'd forgot to start the broadcast on our streaming. So that's the
Yeah,
first
I'm
time
wondering if this, yeah.
we're filming this at the same time. So yeah, but usually I'm all over it. But to the YouTube, the 3 people that are probably going to watch this on Web2, both of you are going to miss out on the first cute little intro, but that's fine. This is, for those of you that just tuned in, this is the blueprint. It's a Web3 music journey about me, Rien, and I'm speaking to Dayo Adeosun, who's the founder of Glass.xyz, which is the premier video sharing platform on Web3. So yeah, let's move on from that. Dayo, for people who don't know that, could you just give like a bit of a backstory on kind of how you found Web3 and eventually came up with the idea for Glass?
Yeah, so I would say the story kind of starts around like when I got to college. I would say I always knew I wanted to do something entrepreneurial. I knew that I wanted to help creators build. I wanted to help create platforms for more creation, and I wanted to, I had ideas of like freeing the creators, but I didn't necessarily have those formulated until now. And so in college, I started a startup called Spot with Varun and my co-founder Sam, who are still my co-founders now. And we kind of just iterated on this idea of like a map that helped you find your people and your places by allowing people to just share their thoughts on the map, similar to like how you share tweets on a list feed. And we kind of scaled that to, a few 10,000 users over the span of like 3 years, but we just never made any money. And so kind of how Web3 pulls everybody in some form, it has to do with the money and a little bit of ownership and some ideas of just like freedom. And so we, around 2020, I graduated. And I graduated, no graduation. I'm actually going to my graduation in like 3 weeks from now. But I graduated and I didn't even have, I was working on Spot and we didn't even have like enough money to even like really figure out what we were doing. We had literally like a couple $100K between us 3. And we were trying to build out this startup and we were bringing in no revenue. And so we needed to just really figure out something that would work. We had a really strong community, like kids in Arizona, Chicago, LA, New York City, like all over like United States colleges, a few high schools, and like a little bit in Nigeria. But I just felt we were missing something. Like creators were, I guess we were calling them spotters at the time, but like they were putting content on the map and they weren't getting anything for that. And I just felt a little bit wrong about that. And that's when like the first ideas of like community ownership started peeking into my mind. And I was like, well, if you're going to make a platform and certain people are going to put information on that platform that other people like, and they're coming to the platform to see that information, then they should get some type of ownership over time for continuously putting information on that platform. Talking to Twitter. And so over time, I just was like, we got to figure something out here and do something else. And around that time, I had like just read like this TikTok book called like The Attention Economy. I had read the Instagram book, a bunch of books just around like how can you help, create these new ecosystems. And it was really the TikTok book that kind of changed my whole worldview, combined with like reading like a book about maps and how maps are really just videos. And then I just realized, oh my gosh, like we're kind of in this sovereign individual age where every single human being is actually like, ignorance is increasing because everyone is becoming more sovereign amongst themselves. And the best way to convey information as people are becoming more sovereign would be through videos. And so I just really felt that like videos were the most information dense medium. of the information age. And I kind of felt the information age was at the beginning of like the next 500 years, in the same way like pen and paper during the Gutenberg Revolution in like the 1500s started, you know, a lot of like typing in the Bible and all these things. And so I thought video was that new medium. And me, Vern, Sam were just kind of just tweaking on ideas around video. And then Sam mocked up this like IPFS video player that allowed for like a 10-minute video on the blockchain. And that was around like, I think like April 2021. And then right after that, we dropped a waitlist to see if people wanted to see videos on the blockchain. And we got 70,000 people on the waitlist in 48 hours. And so then we were like, oh shit, this is way more demand than we've ever gotten on any other product we've done. So maybe this is really what the people want. Maybe they want to, you know, make more money for their videos. And maybe they want to tell the world a story through their videos and actually tell the world the story they want to tell behind videos, maybe find their niche and sustain on that. And then ever since then, we did a live stream, we did videos, we did a bunch of experiments, and now we're here, you know, about to go to Solana, trying to scale the ecosystem and really just bring more people into the space through videos. And I think a lot of people understand, you know, how deep a video can be to someone and how life-changing a certain video could be. Like I just have like multiple videos in my life, like this one motivational video I used to always watch before school in high school. I think it's like the Will Smith one where it's like the pursuit of happiness one. And there's just so many videos out there that just like change my life on the daily. And I really feel like those are big moments in my life that like I would like to capture, and now they can kind of be captured as NFTs. And so the technology came at the perfect time, along with the understanding of how important video was, along with the understanding of just blockchain and this idea of a time chain and, you know, things being stored for hundreds and thousands of years.
Wow, that's an incredible story. I read up a little bit on parts of those things you were saying. I think it was on the Adam Levy interview. You said that you noticed that creators were being underpaid. Like 97% of YouTubers make less than minimum wage, and 30% of kids in high school want to be a YouTuber or something like that. Like there's just
like over 70% of kids in high school want to be a YouTuber.
Yeah, so it's the opposite.
All these people want to be something where 97% of them are going to make less than $10,000, less than $12K a year, like less than minimum wage, less than, you know, you're not going to be able to live in New York City. Like, how are you going to get the content? You're not going to be able to live in LA. How are you even going to get the, you know, the videos you're thinking about? And so, yeah, like freeing the creators is just what all this is about, and honoring great creators. But yeah.
Yeah, and I think, I'm not sure if it was you specifically that wrote it, but you guys dropped a really cool Mirror article. Jade, if we could get that pinned. One thing that really stood out when you were reintroducing Glass, and I think it's something a little bit further down the line, but the way that you're going to kind of tackle the algorithm issue, I just wanted to touch on before I move on. But you said that your recommendation system will always opt for explainability and transparency, as well as optionality and self-selection. I think that's awesome, and if you could explain a little bit what that means, but from what I take, it basically just means that you'll be very open and transparent about how people's videos are going to be found and how people are going to get recommended, which I think is something that artists in general and pretty much all creators have been begging all of the major platforms to do for a long time.
Yeah, so like some of the fundamental ideas behind all of this is just like, people don't want centralized systems controlling, you know, how they're seen, controlling how the content is moderated, controlling, you know, how things are monetized, and everything was like hidden behind you. We were even in that business for a little bit with Spot, where it was like we would have to go to a third party to try to have them advertise to the students, and it just felt like wrong. Like, why was there 3 parties when there could just be 2 parties? And so we kind of just felt that, you know, when it comes to content moderation, when it comes to content recommendation, a lot of times it's like you're going to like YouTube, and then YouTube's going to their council and saying, hey, like, you know, like, do we take the Nelk Boys off? Or do we take Young Boy off? Or do we take, you know, Like I think last week they took like the Lens Protocol founder off, or Aave founder off. And so it's like, I think a lot of what's going on in Web3 is just a response to the idea that it's very, very, very hard for one central entity to control millions and billions of people without them wanting, their own communities, and without them wanting to moderate to their communities how they want. And so I think in the future, there's really three core values that we're thinking of, and that's like community ownership, right? Every collector, every creator on Glass, we're actually thinking of them as a shareholder, as a owner, right? How we figure that out, of course, that's like down the line as we build the ecosystem and build video NFTs in that community. But yeah, community ownership is really number one, and then community grown and community curated, which is kind of like moderation and kind of like people who are like, hey, you should upload a video here. They should be also seen as those builders and growers of community. And so just we wanted to really balance between community ownership, community growth, community creation, and create a video marketplace / social network where it's like, yeah, it's like a marketplace and like you're here to sell your video and you're here to connect with other people and then get back to your life. But it's also a social network that's going to help you figure out like, who's going to be my next videographer, who's going to be my next photographer, who's going to be, behind the scenes or whatever. And so we kind of wanted both of those realms. And then we wanted that transparency when it comes to monetization, and that simplicity when it comes to understanding how do you actually, buy an NFT? How do you actually, if you collect it, is there a way to actually flip it, or is there a way to actually market and support this creator? So there's community ownership, community curation, community grown is kind of like the foundation of what we're doing. And I think figuring out how to fully execute that at scale is like, of course, the big challenge. And, we come from a mobile app development team, but really we're just adaptable beings that like to build products and have unique skill sets amongst me, Varun, and Sam. And the community is just, I think, once the community takes it, things go off into their own worlds. And we've seen what it looks like when like you drop a product and it's like you have a whole school in like Grand Canyon University, like all of a sudden take the map, and they're putting totally different types of content that you've never seen, on there. And then, that community might, get into it with another community. And so things really do change at different scales, and you really just have to constantly be reinventing yourself. And so we want to transparently reinvent ourselves with the community watching us right there. And so it's like we're about to go through one of those, another transformational shift, being both ETH and Solana marketplaces. And that's just, how change really goes about. You have to consistently reinvent yourself, consistently innovate, and communicate with the community that, we're trying to build this for the long term. We're trying to really build an ecosystem here.
I'm super excited to see the future of this. Like, every single time we chat, it seems like Glass is just going to be cooler and cooler. So I'm really, really excited to see where that goes. Let's jump into the episode. Every single week, I set myself a goal in the blueprint. So the main reason for that is that I'll come up with actionable steps that I can take throughout the week to kind of go towards that goal and get as close to I can by the time that I'm at the next episode. So this week's goal, and let me know if you think that it's not a good one, but I think it should be right. It's to understand how to utilize video as a Web3 artist to build hype and stand out. So set this goal because I think that, well, at least in the Web2 music space, video is one of the most powerful ways to engage fans, find new listeners to your music, and really just be able to perform and show what your personality is like. And I think it's a way that artists have really been able to show that for a while. And I just really want to know if it translates similarly in Web3. So like, what are your thoughts on that, Dayo, for the goal?
So just like marketing and just like promoting and preparing for your drops.
Yeah, like it's just, do you think in Web3 that the way that the music videos are used is similar? Like, because I feel like in Web2, it's like you don't really get to see the artist for who they really are until they drop their first music video. Like, you can hear their song, you can kind of like have ideas of who they are, like how they perform. But I think until you drop a music video, it's like you don't really have a full kind of idea, or unless you've seen a live video. So do you think that you've seen artists kind of utilizing that in the same way if they have been kind of Web3 native?
I think that's a really interesting question. I think there's something about video and the medium that no other mediums can do. The first reality is that 81% of all internet traffic is video, right? So it's like audio is a long, third, fourth to video content on the internet. And so I think there's something about video and the connection, whether it's through a Zoom, whether it's through a Loom, whether it's through a Glass music video, whether it's through a podcast video. There's something about videos that just enable this connection that makes you feel like it's closer to real life, that people really, really attract to and that they really, really want, especially given COVID and like just the separation that we've gone through. And so I think whenever creators drop a music video, it opens a part of their identity that they might not have, previously accepted or even known was there. And I think videos, they're so transparent and they're so direct that it's like everyone's kind of nervous like on their first video, and it's kind of nervous getting behind the camera, and it's kind of frightening, like being on camera for a music video that other people would see and things like that. And so I think it's really about practicing, like seeing how you feel under video, preparing for that. If you want to partner with another videographer, I think that's worked brilliantly. If you want to partner with photographers, that worked brilliantly. And so I think a lot of video is just about like just trying new things and just seeing how things work. And it's like it just has to have potential. It doesn't have to be the perfect video right now. It just has to have that spark of, if you were to continue doing videos, music videos for the next 10 years, do you think that this could be, a masterpiece like people, or do you think that, you can find your flow within videos? But yeah, I think videos are, it's a forever, it's a means to means. It's really never going to stop. There will always be videos. And it's just about like continuously doing them and just figuring out when those sparks of video greatness comes and noticing those.
Totally. I think it's a really interesting way to look at it. And I think that we're just kind of scratching the surface when it comes to like the actual limitations of Web3 and video. I think that there's been such little exploration so far out of pretty much every medium. I think that music and video are the ones that are kind of almost still in such a growth phase that it's just going to be really interesting to see like how people can innovate and like come up with different ways to utilize visuals and sound in that way that's not just like a PFP drop or like, Invisible Friends or something. I think it'll be really, really cool.
I think so too. And I think all of those PFP projects, all of them are going to want to do music. All of them are going to want to do music videos. And so I think we're just adding on to the layers. Like we're standing on the shoulders of giants in Web3. And like right now I kind of call this like the, wave 2, right? And there's probably like 12 waves. And the idea is just like, this is the initiation stage. A lot of people are not going to have the balls to last, throughout the summer, all the way to the winter, all the way to next, summer, and experience what it's like to be in like a moving market where you're looking at tokens going up and down. You yourself are going up and down. Like imagine if you just took a video a day, right? Just one video of yourself every single day, and you just looked in the mirror right at the morning and you just said, all right, this is day one, right? Like I'm getting on camera today. How am I feeling today? Blah, 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 blah. And it's like video diaries are the future. Video books are the future. Video books, like there's one video book called How Buildings Learn. And it's like Web3 is literally all about creating a building and learning how to evolve that building as you're building it. And so videos really are that medium where it's like, on this day you look like that, on that day you look like that, and it's constantly evolving and you're looking at it differently the next time you see it. And it's just like something you can always look back to as a memory. And I think like, it's it's just the sentimental value combined with the community that watches that video is what provides that actual value behind it. And creators, when they begin to drop their videos and drop their things, they have to really think, who else would feel the sentimental value behind this video? It's like if you watch the video of today on Glass, like that is the most nostalgic vibe I've seen in a long time for any videos by Jamie at Sound and Fractures. And it's, you can tell they spent so much focus on just getting to the essence of where we are. And so videos communicate better than any other medium, especially if it's a music video. And having music and videos together, I mean, we already know, YouTube goes crazy. I think, now doing that on the blockchain, there's ways to, reward even more people in that process. There's a way to even make that relationship between video dropping to your community even more special. That is just about to start, and like videos it's just going to be amazing.
Yeah, we're already seeing that innovation. I think the drop today, I didn't get to see Sound of Fractures, but it was like a $0 reserve, which I think is really interesting kind of experiment. We did a bit of an experiment like a week ago for those who were there. It was quite the experience. We dropped apparently it's the very first video podcast NFT, right?
Yes.
Jade, could we get that pinned actually? But yeah, it was a weird experience, uploading like an hour and 10-minute long video to the blockchain, deciding to do it very last minute, and kind of like deciding on like the anticipation of like your first drop not being music when you're a musician is like a really weird feeling, and like trying to figure out like the fear of pricing that. And like I wanted to kind of touch on it a little bit here. Like I think it's something that's been brought up a lot lately. Like there's been like a bit of a shake up in the market, and I think there's a lot of people that have just come in that are kind of going like, why am I here? And because it needs to be something other than money. And as you said, like everyone comes in thinking like, oh, I'm going to make 50 ETH on my crowdfund, or like I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and you don't get to kind of see how much work that takes. So like I was speaking to Lackhoney last week about his 4.8 ETH video drop that he did on Glass, and like he just went into like how much work it took to actually get to the point where he had that many collectors or that many friends that would actually show up for him. And like that's something that you don't hear. You just see the Mirror article and you're like, oh, I could do that. So I think that it is, though, it's like the feeling of not selling something once you drop it is like, it's real. And it's like there's no kind of curation, there's no like natural way of finding something after the release week that just like comes to your feed or something like that. So while we're still in that phase, I think it's really like a weird energy that's kind of been building, that's weighing on artists who need to sell out, or you've done something wrong, and it feels kind of like shitty, to be honest. Like I talked about it in the video diaries this week, about like finding like a different reason, like a different why as to why you're here. And I kind of touched on it a little bit in the teaser that I posted today, but like I think it comes down to like friendship and connection. Like you come here and you think, you're working full-time hours. Well, I'm working like full-time hours just to do this podcast basically. And then I've got like a music career, and you take the plunge and you drop something and you realize like there's this whole other side of Web3, which is essentially just like the same as Web2, which is just networking and building connections, and like how valuable it is to be known and liked, like in whatever community you're trying to fit into, and how much your mindset is important. As you said, like patience and longevity, and like understanding like a long-time plan. But yeah, it's just about like building friendships and not pushing products, And I think it goes kind of into the first two episodes of the Blueprint too. So I'm confident like with this drop, and like through the contacts that I'm building, and like with Karma who's here, and Lackhoney's advice, that I'll be in a very different space soon mentally, and like it won't be as overbearing, and I can kind of understand how this all works. But like, what do you think about the psychology around like not selling something out straight away, with like things slowing down in the market lately, and like where do you see that kind of coming in?
Like I just read OpenSea had its highest volume day like ever, like 2 days ago. So it's like, I think a lot of people have to just realize like nothing's really slowing down. Like it's really all in a lot of this is in your head. And the reality is, it's like all you got to do is just wake up every day and, create, get back to the pavement, focus on that next drop, focus on that next relationship. I think it was like Domino Music or something who said like it's about relationships and craftsmanship. It's like that might be the best combo of Web3. Just you got to craft your tool. And I think videos allow you to display just the variety of the crafts that you can put on video that people would appreciate are just the largest. We just think that that's the largest market. And we think a lot about just market size and how many people can the blueprint touch when it comes to vulnerability? How many people can the blueprint touch when it comes to just educational podcasts, right? And it's just like there's so many categories that videos touch on that it's just never ending. It's like I can't wait until people are doing duets on Glass and monetizing those and doing all this other awesome stuff. But it's like creation takes time. People need to realize creation takes time. Just trust in those who are building consistently over time. Trust that they will, not always be right. They will make mistakes. Everyone's human, and that everyone's gonna be okay. It's not like the world is ending when your things aren't selling. And as a creator, it feels like that sometimes. It's like, oh my God, the world is ending. Something I put so much hope into is gone. And it's like these, other things, like these other companies in the Web3 space, like some sell out, some don't, in the end, it's like they need to survive, right? We need to survive. There's 3 stages we're going through. This is the initiation stage. This isn't even the coexistence where you're doing, live streams on, other platforms and live streams on Glass, live streams on Web2 platforms and live streams on Glass, but you're monetizing those as additions, right? We're not even there yet, and so it's like we're not even building on Solana yet. We're fully at that stage where it's all about the infrastructure. Those with the strongest infrastructure, and this is what we learned in our previous startup, like focus if your back end and the community is strong, like you can get that front end to work, right? You can get that, outer aesthetic to work, but you have to make sure that your internal back end, your center position, your guided spiritual focus is correct. And you also have to make sure, that you're still making those relationships, you're still connecting with people, you're still making those genuine connections. Focus on your back-end craft, right? The fundamentals of knowing how to do a podcast well, and focus on that community. And then, down the line, the blueprint's going to be, a clean ass shit podcast that, is like really crisp and clean, and you got your own studio and all that stuff. But it's really only going to come from focusing on the fundamentals, focusing on the back end every single day, and then focusing on the people and meeting them where they are today. And so I think a lot of people get too hype up a lot in Web3, and it's like, what we're doing is definitely hype as shit, and we're one of the first people ever doing this, and video NFTs are probably the biggest medium that will free the creator economy. Like, these are just statistical facts, but it's like you still have to actually build that. You have to actually go through the hard problems of like, oh, should this be tweaked, like that? How should I put this sentence on this tweet? Like, how should I order, the spaces on this tweet? Like, learn about copywriting, learn about branding. You have to figure out what is your brand archetype, right? You can make a little teddy bear. Karma can make a Solana monkey business off of his PSP and have that become Karma's energy, and then, hide away and start building other products. And so it's like people have to realize that Web3 isn't going anywhere. Relax. Like, you're like, we're still going to be here. A lot of people who believe in a future that's better than the red ocean of Instagram and YouTube and Twitch and TikTok. Like, if you would rather be there, go there, because we don't need you right now, right? What we need right now are true warriors, community builders, and people with the back end fundamentals to actually build the infrastructure and explain to other educators, to other people that might have the skills that the space needs right now, that, hey, we need you right now. And you might not realize how big of a movement this is, but you're going to look back on this and realize in your life, there's only 2 to 3 big movements per life. It's like, a lot of people have that. I was reading, like, a lot of people have that, like, that existential crisis at the ages of 21, the ages of 43, the ages of 63. I think very generationally. And so it's like every 20 years, there's a new generation. The older generation is going to shit on that new generation and whatever they're doing. And that new generation is going to come out gunslinging saying this is the new stuff. And the reality is, it is the new stuff, right? Just because the older generation is getting older. And so, just know in the next 20 years, this is going to be almost the old stuff, right? And so this is just the beginning of the next 20 years of true innovation, and this is the beginning of creators like really going off. Like creators are about to really go off. Like we're in the stone ages of internet creators, right? The internet started in 1950s, 1960s. In 60 years, 70 years, not even 2 lifetimes, in 1 lifetime, we're already here where we have satellites. Elon Musk's, just bought Twitter, and, we're going to SpaceX, Tesla. It's like, don't mistake a clear path for a short distance. And a lot of people come in and they make that mistake that they think, oh, because, the next paths are, oh, I just monetize my NFT, right, tomorrow. And then, I just ran the race. It's like, no, it's a marathon, right? And yes, although it's literally a looping New York City marathon where you might, kind of have the map, in your mind, just know mile 13, you're literally going to be dying, right? And mile 8, you're literally going to be stressed as shit. We're literally on mile 3, mile 4, and people are literally tapping out. People are literally like getting into it with the community. They're getting hangry. The Rock has this quote that's halt. Whenever you're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, halt. And so it's like, people got to get the stamina right. We got to start treating ourselves as athletes. I come from an athletic background, and I see athletes as creators. And so it's like, start to treat yourself like an athlete. You really do have to be disciplined to last. Cristiano Ronaldo's like 38, right? But that's a totally different type of discipline that he's showing. LeBron James, like 38. And it's like, you look at the new school. It's like you got Ja Morant, Giannis, people that are coming out. And so it's just like, this new age of creation is across the board. This isn't just music. This isn't just basketball. This isn't just podcasts. It's like Sing is a part of those new podcast OGs. And so it's like, we have to think more long term. We have to understand who are those communities we want to join, right? One thing I would say about our community is I think we could make our branding better, right? I think we could improve it. I think for what we've done, we could be in a better position given if we had focused a little bit more on our branding and put some more time and effort into that. And I think, we're focusing on that now, like a little bit of alpha, like we might just drop a PFP project. Everybody who's created, everybody who's collected, of course you're whitelisted, right? And so it's like, I think there's a lot more cool things we could do, and like just based off of the skill set that Meaver and Sam and the whole team have and the community has, I think we have the potential to have one of the dopest communities. And we're going to partner with all the dope communities. And so it's like, I want all these communities to go up. I want the Blueprint DAO to go up. I want the, Karma DAO, the RMS DAO. All of us need to go up. We need to raise our tides, and we need to understand, like, no, like, lean on me. We honestly might need some 1970s music. We might need some Bill Withers, some Luther Vandross, Marvin Gaye, so that we understand that this is a revolution, right? It's an actual renaissance, and some people will literally die. I mean, I don't know about like like in their soul, right? Like some people will literally be like, oh my gosh, like I'm I feel it's just so much. It's like literally like today, like literally my today was like 60 lifetimes in a day, right? It's like, you literally had someone start an auction at 0.000001, like 5 bids for that, 4 bids for that in 30 minutes. Right before that, like Real Madrid came back against Man City, one of the craziest Champions League comebacks I've ever seen. Right after that, now Blueprint, right? And then, even this morning, Dayo Adeosun, just creators going to Switzerland, just global. So it's just like, you got to figure out your time And you also have to start acting like an extreme owner. And extreme ownership is another concept that creators need to understand. This is the sovereign individual age, so you really want to be focusing on like, who is my core team, right? Whether it's my wife, whether it's my friend, my brother, whatever. We're getting back to that digital tribalism. So you got to make sure everybody's sharpening their weapons, crafting their tools, getting prepared as well as they can, knowing that this is a battle. New ideas are never ever going to be positively accepted, and you should never ever expect new ideas to be positively expected, because human nature stays the same, but history does not repeat. And so that's the beautiful thing. So oftentimes people think this history is going to repeat. That's a big fear people have, but it's really just human nature stays the same. So when you realize human emotions and uncertainty, and that every single time someone mints a video on Glass, they're going to feel like their life is like on the line. It's like doing the type form is preparation for how much nervousness that you're actually going to have when you're actually dropping it. And that's why we're like, focus on the type form, do the draft. It's like, I feel like a teacher, like the worst teacher. Like, I hate school, but it's like, I think a lot of times, you got to start to really take your time with this, focus on the long term, and really build that foundation in the community. I'll keep going back to the core important things, which are the back end and the community, and focus on how do you create demand, how do you produce product, and how do you provide support. A lot of creators might forget, someone might have trouble even knowing how to get a MetaMask. It's like, you like put all these things into your job plan, right? Be as prepared as you can and be as passionate as you can, and persist. If you do those three things, passionate, prepare, and you persist, you will make it. And like, that is facts. But if you don't persist, if you're not passionate, I don't want to talk to you. If you're not prepared, I want to talk to you less, but I'm also not the most prepared I can be, So it's like, Web3 is difficult because, you could only be so prepared, right? You're always going to be pretty much unprepared with anything in Web3, which is a cool thing. And that's a very uncomfortable situation. But as a creator, just understand, like, that's kind of the flow when you're creating an entirely new industry. The phases are initiation phase, coexistence phase, and then independent industry phase. A lot of people are like stuck on the coexistence, like, oh, can I post my YouTube video from 8 years ago? It's like, yes, John Waltz can post that video from 8 years ago, and that can sell for, over 3 ETH, which it did. And so that's the future that is coming. And it's a future where it's like, literally, you're living in the past and the present and the future all at once. And like, that is a crazy time to be in. And it's like, there's a bunch of new technologies that are coming, but it's like, center on yourself, focus on you, focus on the community and your fundamental back end strength, like stand tall.
I think you just literally answered like 80% of the questions I was going to ask anyway. But yeah, I'm aware like you've got a meeting coming up, but I wanted to just quickly throw off some other alpha. Like, I think we've chatted this briefly, but I really want to do my first music NFT drop. I want it to be a music video, because I come from like an acting background, and film's huge in my family, and I've made a few music videos that I was extremely proud of that, did pretty well on YouTube. And I want more people to see the amount of effort that went into that. And I think that adding utility on the back end and showing, the scripts and like every single like aspect of exactly what went into each shot. The video that I have in mind is a video called Tell the Truth, and I'd be honored to put it on Glass. But we'd have to like probably chat about this another time, because you have to go in 5 minutes. But
No, I mean, like, yeah, to chat quickly, like, right now, of course we want to do that drop, and of course we will do that drop. And like, this is what I tell all the creators: you will drop on Glass. If you want to, you will. It's just a matter of when. And Morpheus told Neo in the Matrix, more important than what is when. And I think a lot of people forget, more important than what you do is when you do it. And the reason we pivoted to the video NFT space is because it was time. We wanted to be the first. We felt this seismic shift. And it wasn't like, oh, could we do it? We knew what we could do, right? When you're a creator, you can drop on Glass. It's like, you can, right? It's more about, when do I drop on glass? How do I do it? How should I prepare for it? And that comes back to doing the type form, look into the type form, see how that goes. Ask questions, DMs, DM me, hop into the glass spaces at 5 p.m. ET. Whenever you see glass doing a space, hop in. Just hop in. Like, I was just in the OK Bears Magic Eden space. Like, you just gotta hop in and be curious. Like, curiosity wins entirely. And you were curious about doing a podcast. Now you're curious about doing a music video. Now you're gonna be the first person to have done a video podcast and a music video. And so it's like, I think when you do that, would be great to be on the Solana drop, because with the Solana drop, we're going to be focusing on secondaries very heavily, right? And we're going to be focusing on, kind of treating music videos and videos in general as like StockX Nike Air Force Ones, where it's like you got 10 editions of these sneakers and they're all at a reasonable price that you would actually cop that Air Force One. But you also could flip that. Even you as a creator could maybe buy two, one for you, one for your family, right? And then even other people could, go buy that and flip it and raise your floor price to be really high. And so it can kind of create, if you have a strong core community, which is what we need to be focusing on right now, foundational things, right? Infrastructure, spending time to onboard people, that one-to-one philosophy when it comes to building. Those are the things that helps you win in the long term. And I've been doing that one-on-one philosophy. I literally have a Calendly that just says one-on-one. And it's just like, I've seen that that's the number one way I've been able to actually help build the space and help creators earn and can be done, over 800K in 4 months and, over 4 different monetization models. And so it's like, yes, when you experiment a lot, you're going to lower your overall returns, right? If you experiment in if you diversify too much, your big wins are going to be diminished. So actually, you really want to focus on the few, types of monetization, the few things that you think will be here to increase your potential, winnings. And that's why we think limited editions, which is something we started with the first live stream in August, selling out in 15 minutes and making us $10,000 as me, Vern, and Sam behind the camera, actually just, chilling, not even doing a music video. We didn't start with music videos. It's just that universal language that helps bring the vibes back. And like, you just need the vibes. Like, music is the vibes. You cannot literally move forward in the space without the vibes, because it's not easy.
Fully. Yeah, I think it'll be really exciting to do on Solana. I think editions is definitely the way to go. I think I've done like the one-of-one thing with the podcast. I want to do like the opposite of that and kind of see how that goes. And I just think like on the blueprint, it'd be interesting to see like both sides of pretty much everything that I can possibly show, like what it feels like to do X and what it feels like to do Y and what it feels like.
But once again, right? And you got to get back to that idea where it's like, if you do experiment a lot, right? Like too much, you're gonna diminish your potential returns and by focusing on that one thing. But at the same time, it's like you still have to be curious. So it's like figuring out that balance, and making sure you're just doing it on like the locations, the digital geographies you believe are gonna be here in the future, right? If you believe music videos and video NFTs are gonna be here in the future, yeah, you should be dropping on Glass and experimenting there, right? And we're gonna be looking to experiment to figure out what's the best for a creator. And so, yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, man. No, I really appreciate you coming in today. I don't want you to be late for your meeting, but I know that I've got like pretty much all of my actionable steps from that one long, ridiculously inspirational speech that you gave. It's great because I think there's been like a lot of rhetoric in the space lately of kind of like, everything's weird and like this is happening. But what we're really just seeing is that it's more people are coming here and there's so much going on,
And it's like, I always say, everybody lives in high school. 99% of people live in high school their whole life. Like, that's just one of those ideas I had before. And I'm just a very mental model heavy human being. But, like, we gotta be more than that. Like, we have to try to advance the thinking. We have to try to actually think about positive sum situations. It's like, there is more money out there to be made. you just haven't found it yet. It's like people are like, like, oh, I might not be able to hit this bid. It's like, have you really searched? Have you really looked around? Have you really made that connection? Have you really, like traveled the internet? Like, it's such a vast network. Like, the internet is like so fat. And so it's just like, you really got to take your time and like really think like, this is a small bubble. I'm here to grow the video NFT bubble and the music NFT bubble and the DAO bubble and the PFP bubble and all the crypto bubbles, anything crypto that I feel has good values, that is focused on the long term, that is focused on community ownership, community growth, community creation, transparency, simplicity. We want to grow those things. And so that's, we want to be known as, if Apple is to thinkers what Nike is to athletes, Glass wants to be that to creators. And we think we can be that. We think the medium we're choosing, video, is that medium to do that. It's almost like the computer in, 1982. And, yeah, there's literally 1984 behemoths like Facebook that are out there that, Randy Zuckerberg is in the space. And it's like there is some stuff that I'm just like, I don't know, I know some people aren't really looking out for us, and we just have to be mindful, community owned. We have to be vigilantes, watchful of what's going on in the space, yet build it. Like, you can't watch and judge and not build. You have to build, watch, and then you can judge. Everybody is so judgmental and everybody is a hypocrite, me included. But it's just like, you have to eventually, just build and grow it to the best you can. It's not good enough to just converse. It's not good enough to converse with the same 5 people. It's like, you literally, like, whether it's going outside, whether it's, in a TMIC, we're doing an event with V-Files, bringing in a nonprofit organization into the mix, bringing in more creators, bringing in more notoriety. It's like, that's kind of what we need, and it's like, don't be afraid to be a pioneer. Don't be afraid to say how you really feel, especially if you're building the space. You could say pretty much whatever you want if you're building the space, because you're helping build the space, but just have some values, have some respect for those who have built before you, all the engineers, Anil Dash, Kevin McCoy, all these guys who have kind of really started the space, and learn the fundamentals, back to the basics. If you don't even know how Kevin McCoy and Anil Dash were even thinking of NFTs in 2013, 2014, before there was even an ERC 721 standard, and tried to actually get that historical preset. This is like the beginning of the Constitution, right? All these manifestos you're seeing in these PFP projects, those are little constitutions. I think we need to come together as one, right? Create almost a world economy through NFTs in some form, and figure out a new way forward for the world. And don't depend on these other systems that foundationally are not meant to support you. Like, people have to be focusing on the foundations and the communities. That's what I will consistently repeat, right? And it's like, that's what, like, my foundation is. I think I'm good with people. I think I'm good with community. I'm relentless, tenacious, and I'm someone who's going to continue to battle. And I help form partnerships and generate ideas and imagine things and build things. Varun, adds those designs on things, is a deep thinker, city builder. Sam is, one of those constantly reevaluating the truths, constantly building, tinkering, doing something, being a rebel, like being a rebel, and it's like, those are just foundational traits of, the core Glass team. And we think we need more foundational traits. We need someone who's great with branding, right? We need someone who's great with marketing. We need someone who's great with, actually, cultivating, creating demand around things. Although we can, we have shown that we can do that, and we will continue to do that. We need someone who's going to provide support, provide that, valuable service, after things are getting done, And so there's just so many things you have to do in this space, but you really got to find your foundation and find your community that's going to support that foundation, and look around for that, and actually look. Like, you know, I'm trying to hire, everyone can hire better, right? And it's like, you have to focus on that.
You got that call coming. You're good. At the end of the episode, I can kind of do myself. It's just my actionable steps. But I just want to say thank you so much. You've dropped so much knowledge and so much inspiration, as you always do every time we've ever chatted. I feel like I'm going to go on some sort of a steed and march into battle. But I really appreciate it.
We are, though. Yeah, it's a different type of battle. Like, don't forget, once again, human nature stays the same. History does not repeat. And so, yes, this is a battle of some form. It's a different battle. You know, it's a more mental, it's a more physical, it's more soul, spiritual. You know, shout out to Wada, you know, doing that spiritual guidance. You know, shout out to Karma, RMS, all these other spiritual guiders. And, you know, thank you to St. Rien. Thank you to the Blueprint. Shout out to Jade. All the amazing woman builders in the space. We need more woman builders. Do not think it's enough not to convince a woman builder to come on board. There's no reason you should be taking a day off by not onboarding. If you see a woman and you think financial freedom might be something she cares about, then help. And that's the type of way we're gonna get there. And just know it's gonna take time. Great creations take time, but just don't believe the greatest creations are behind us, because they're really not. They're in front of us.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you so much. I'm just going to open up the floor. I was originally just going to have one person at a time, but Jade, if anyone wants to come up, because I think Dayo is going to have to bail right now. But I'm just going to go over the goal for the week. Allergies have been absolutely killing me in the South. I don't know if anyone lives in the South, but my brain is just completely ruined by allergies. But I just also feel so inspired by this conversation I've just had as well. But I think, you know, I've got a great idea on how to utilize video as a Web3 artist and build hype around it to stand out. I'm going to start writing down some of these actionable steps, but if anyone wants to come up and say anything, feel free. I'm going to be like 2 seconds. All right, cool. So last week, my goal with Ali, I wrote down 4 actionable steps. After speaking to Ali, I actually suffered a bit of burnout, which you can watch in this week's video diaries on YouTube. Jade, can we get that pinned as well? But yeah, if you want to see my struggles of the week, you can go and watch that. But after a bit of a rest, last week's action steps actually went pretty well. I just want to give a recap of that. So it was mainly around building one-on-one relationships, which I think is going to be like a continual theme of this whole season, because I think that's, if not one of probably the most important thing to do. So the first actionable step was to find as many interesting people in the space through Twitter that I can. Kind of a roundabout, I actually minted Adam Levy's season 4 pin, which gives you access to the top 300 collectors in the space. So I started actually using that to reach out and meet people and build friendships there, which has actually been really fun and rewarding too. So that's still in progress, and I think we'll keep going. The second one was to come up with my own template to research them and ensure a good conversation will be had. I have done this. I think I'll share it after I've done this little experiment and these one-on-one calls over the next couple of months, because I don't want anyone to think that I'm insincere, and also I don't want too many people to write the exact same thing as me in their DMs. The third thing was to reach out to the people in the space and set up at least 4 calls. I almost made this. I had 3 calls. It actually went really well. I think this week's goals, as I said, like it'll definitely be something that I continue working on throughout. But yeah, it's been really cool to just reach out to people and just start building friendships without really asking for anything. Just like it's interesting to get other people's take and people that aren't musicians in the space and collectors in the space. And I've heard a lot of differing kind of opinions on things that I never would have thought of. The last actionable step was it's kind of passing on from what I learned with Karma, but to make sure that I've joined all the communities from Ali's list, and also to be active and look for opportunities that I can contribute or be of assistance. So I've continued to do this since like week 1 with Karma, and my favorite communities at the moment are definitely Water and Music, Song Camp, Hi-Fi Labs, Good Karma Records, Dreams Never Die. There's a few more, but I really appreciate all of the people in there. I think I've met a lot of friends in there. But yeah, so that's the update. If you want to watch the video diaries, you can see like a more kind of vulnerable update. But this part of the show, I'm going to just kind of go through the action steps I'm going to take till next week. I want to be held accountable by all of you. As I say, I will be posting my next video diary update on Tuesday the full, but I've actually decided to start posting little clips throughout the week as well, just to kind of give a more kind of day-by-day update. So what I've written down to do this week, it's slightly shorter because I want to, as I said, like continue the one-on-one relationship building that I picked up from last week, because I think it's so important in general, and I think that that's something that I really want to push as an important thing to keep doing throughout the entire onboarding process for anyone listening or watching. But specifically for music videos, I'm going to do the type form that Dayo was saying. He sent me that just before this call, and I'm going to kind of come up with the best kind of description that I can come up with, and pick the best video that I want to use. I think it's going to be that Tell the Truth video. I'm going to upload it, and I'll kind of like give a little update on what that's like and how the experience is. So that's the first. The second is to come up with the best utility possible that's personal and stands out. It's been kind of like weird thinking about utility around music NFTs for me, but I think over the last few weeks, like I do think it is really important to add something cool. So I think for me, it's like bringing that in real life thing. So I think I'm going to be adding something that I can either physically send to someone, or something that's like the actual script, because I actually write and direct all my music videos as well. I have a film background, so it's like legit kind of scripts that I would actually send to people of exactly what was written, and like the prop list and stuff like that. So that could be cool, but I'll look into that a bit more. And then the third one would be, again, just to reach out to collectors and thought leaders in the space for more one-on-one calls. So I think I'm going to kind of be doing 3 to 4 max per week now, because I've been feeling a bit more burnout than normal, just by trying to bite off more than I can chew. And I think this week I'm going to try to do a little less. But yeah, we've hit the hour here, so I'm going to wrap it up. But I just want to say a huge thank you to Dayo again. I know he's gone, but he's just been the best supporter for this whole project, and I honestly couldn't have done it without him. So I'm excited to finally be aiming to drop my music in this crazy place too. But if anyone doesn't want to say anything, I might just wrap it up here. And I really appreciate everyone coming out again. Green Room, High Tropics, Riles, RMS was in here before, Karma, of course, Jade, my friend, for helping. Thank you. My wife, Audio Dad, Audio Sound. Sorry about that. That's my bad. But yeah, if anyone doesn't want to come up, I can just call it here. And I really appreciate your coming out, and hope you have a great day, and hope you feel a little less overwhelmed after this chat. All right, perfect. All right, love you all. Have a good night. Thank you.